His name is Mike G. Okay, I don't know him, but I've been having mad issues with him. I don't know his nationality, but I don't know him. I only seen a few of his like videos, but one thing I'm so disappointed in what he's to the extent he's willing to do to get those clicks, clickbait, or I just can't believe that he really believes this. I don't believe him having military background that would actually believe some of the shit that he has put out. And the reason why I feel like this is because he's I'm gonna guess that his viewers love this shit, and he's basically giving a bad name to Mexicans, as a whole, and to me that bothers me because we know that lately, Mexican drug cartels have been a thing, especially with this FTO designation and stuff. But, but there's a big difference between the Mexican people and criminals. Okay, and this is coming from a criminal. And I believe that if he's ex-military and he has a channel like this, what's going to be important to him is the viewership, obviously, right? The clicks, but he should have some integrity to before he puts out information like this to actually know what he's talking about. And I've seen a couple of videos, like one of them saying that there's sleeper cells, of Mexican drug cartels all across the country, just waiting for the green light. Like it's a real terrorist organization. Like, bro, this ain't what you've been used to in real life. This is like totally different. Just because they have a designation doesn't mean that they play the same or they look the same or they'll act the same. And this really bothers me, because obviously there's so many Mexican communities all across the United States, hardworking people, law-abiding people that have nothing to do with Mexican drug cartels or distributing drugs, and for him to tell his viewers that it bothers him to me, especially I can imagine what type of viewers that he has, and I think that that's just it's irresponsible, it's dangerous, and to me it's like it's so like degrading of the Mexican people, and I'll say this again: there's 138 million Mexicans in Mexico. There's probably 40, 50 million Mexicans in the United States with that were born in Mexico or were first generation, second generation, some type of roots in Mexico. And there's probably 500 to 800,000 criminals, and I feel like he's basically stereotyping all these, the 220 million Mexicans, the law-abiding Mexican with this small group, and I think that's very unfortunate that he would label them this way. And some of the things that he says is like, oh, the ammunition, they're gearing up to
What you say to break
retaliate.
Chapo out or some shit?
Yeah, to retaliate or break chapel. Like, are you ridiculous? Like, one thing's for sure that I know is that Mexican drug cartels have to be some of the most intelligent people to be able to do what they do in American soil. They have access to underground smuggling systems and more money than many terrorist organizations, and they're in it for the money, and that's it. Those ammunitions, those bullets, and everything, they know, what to do, what not to do. That's going straight to Mexico to fight them against themselves and kill themselves, right? They use those bullets you know to go at war with other cartels, and it's almost like this happens daily all across the United States, where ammunition and weapons are being bought and taken, you know, south across the border, um, where these Mexican drug cartels buy them, and that's okay. But now that wasn't enough. Now it's like, oh, these bullets are gonna be because you want to escape. You want to help Chapo escape from the, one of the most guarded prisons in the world. Um, it's ridiculous. So there's so many videos I could actually talk about. And some of the ones I've only saw because I can't listen to this BS that long. And I feel like I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't talk about military stuff. I wouldn't talk about military stuff 'cause I don't know shit about it. So I don't understand how someone who has no idea how cartels operate and how they work, why would they even kind of give their expert you know advice. I mean, obviously he's gonna say it's his opinion, but I think it's just you know Wrong. You know, he's special operations, whatever he is. So, you know, big respects because he served the country, right? But then I feel like to what extent everyone's for sale, and we could see by these clicks, right? And why he's going to continue to talk about it. And I feel like that's sad, you know. And I think I reached out to him too, and I left him a message, and he didn't get back to me. You know, because when I'm doing this, and I'm trying to do the right thing. Like, look, I'm not like protecting drug cartels; they're my biggest enemy, you know. But I'm coming from a a view of I guess an expert or someone who understands reality or something. I'm not sure what you call it, but it's just ridiculous. Like, you know. So right here, cartel Wyoming case update and power grids going down. You know, he look at 155,000 views. He's selling propaganda. You know, he's selling fear to a group of, I'm gonna guess, his viewers that love this shit. You know, that take it in, and then next thing you know, because I'm gonna guess he says it, it's like, yeah, you know, that's what's gonna happen when I catch me one of these Mexicans over here. You know, I'm gonna, it's unfortunate that it has to become got to this part. You know, and I also, again, I don't think that this is what the government wants. I think that the government is doing what they feel could, change, the drug trade, and I keep saying it, it's going to be great for the Mexican people. But if you really want to go after drug traffickers in the United States, then you got to look at your own people, whatever race it is. They're everywhere. They're in Utah, and most likely their drug distributors are going to be Mexican. They're going to be white, and every other race. So them finding the 180,000 rounds, I don't know the right information, but if you tell me, to me, it's obvious. You have Mexicans in Colorado with 180,000 rounds. That means that they're in the business of selling ammunition and weapons to Mexican drug cartels.
Period.
Just because they're traveling one way to another, they have to probably they go pick up a bunch of ammunition. They probably did it before, and then they come back rendezvous to a certain point where they'll be able to, you know, uh, get them together and then ship them down south to Mexico. It's a business. If they can make $1 out of each round that they sell, everyone, for drug cartels, for people who are in the business, is just not drugs that's going to get you money. They're going to be someone that's going to sell weapons. They're going to be someone that sells, stashes. They're going to be someone that can make a submarine. And everyone, it's in it to make money off of this business that's not directly tied to, drugs.
Right.
So to me, 180,000 rounds is like, okay, to me it's normal. They just caught those. That's
They
it.
caught those.
I'm a little bit reluctant to do this, but we'll do it just because I hate to highlight something like this. You get me? But we have to. You know what I'm saying? But let's do it. You get me? It really just I just really personally, on a personal level, I just it's something that really bothers me.
Charged on Friday with being an illegal
full screen.
alien in possession of ammunition, Ricardo Paez Quinones could face up to 15 years in prison and a $250,000 fine and or deportation if convicted.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the show. I had to get up on comms as quick as possible this morning because I found out about this late last night, thanks to my patrons on my Patreon, which I'll link down below. March 14th, a little over a week prior to this happening, which, as a reminder, if you haven't watched the video, 2 illegal immigrants flew in to Denver, Colorado from Mexico to buy a van in Utah and pick up 180,000 rounds of what we think is a combination between 7.62 by 51 or 308 caliber rifle ammunition and about 30,000 rounds, we speculate, based on the news reporting, that likely was 30 boxes, 30,000 rounds of 7.62 by 39, which is AK ammo. They get rolled up in Cannon City, which is very significant because it's in proximity to something related to the cartel. Thanks to my buddy KJ for reaching out this morning. But before we get into that, a week prior, on March 14th, in Rawlins, Wyoming. If you've never been through Rawlins, Wyoming, it's because you probably blinked. Small town along the main highway, running west to east, was this particular driver who got pulled over at a TA gas station, a truck stop. Now, we know he was going west to east because he just came out of Utah. And guess what happened in Utah? He bought 18,000 rounds of what they're calling high-powered rifle ammunition. He purchased this ammunition in Utah. He's driving through Rawlins, Wyoming, and he's caught speeding. He gets pulled over. He's in a gas station. The officer says, hey, what do you got going on? He looks in the back and sees boxes of ammo, and that's what the ammo is for. And he said it's because he's taking his girlfriend to target practice. Now, let's take a look real quickly where Rawlins, Wyoming is at. Pulling it up on a map.
All right. Let's talk about this. Obviously, them buying the ammunition is not illegal, right? Because someone's selling it to them. And I'm going to guess that those shops, gun shops, or wherever he got the ammunition are going to be owned by white people. All right. And it was okay when they sold them. He doesn't care about who sold them ammunition, right? For this, inside terrorist, organization buying ammunition. It was okay for them to sell them. It was okay for them to get paid for them because it's not like they stole them, right? There's no emphasis that's going to be on who was the seller and why. But this happens all around the country each and every day. No one cares about that point, unless it's being bought by a Mexican guy. Obviously, they're going to say, well, yeah, because he's illegal and, those rights are afforded only to U.S. citizens. And it's the same thing with, when it comes to drugs. Like, all the drugs are only important when they come from Hispanics or a certain group. But when the drugs are coming from, their own group, they always go back where they came from Mexico, and stuff like that. It's just one of those things because everyone's going to ask, like, well, where did they come from? And, my biggest thing is like, damn, they could just go ahead and buy these many rounds. And as a kid with my father, it's like, it's something we did. On the way back, we were heading towards Mexico. We would stop at different Kmarts at the time, Kmarts, and buy rounds, rounds and rounds. Like, literally, I'm talking about thousands of rounds. We would stop at different Kmarts. And I remember, one time where we bought so many rounds that the car was struggling. It was low just because we had bought so many rounds and we had put them in the compartment, and my father's not paying attention to weight. So it's a common thing, people make money off of this.
You got Rawlins, which is west of Sinclair, and it's a small town, and we got to find the TA gas station. So let's look that up. So the old TA Travel Center. Okay, that's where he was pulled. Now I want you to take a look at proximity to Wyoming and Utah, where I'm located at in the little blue dot, and then driving through and where it connects to. That's right. If you go through Cheyenne and you go south, you'll head straight through Denver, straight through Colorado Springs and Fort Carson, down to Pueblo, Colorado. And why is that relevant? That's on the same path en route as the destination where in Cannon City, west of Pueblo, Colorado, the two illegals who came in said they were headed to Pueblo, Colorado to drop off this ammunition. In this particular case in Wyoming, this guy's got 18,000 rounds of ammunition, doesn't speak any English. He's actually been deported twice. And according to the news report, he was going 89 in a 75-mile-an-hour zone. The affidavit says Philpott, the law enforcement officer, visited the driver's side door, and the suspect spoke poor English but called his girlfriend to translate by phone. Philpott could see the boxes of high-caliber ammunition in the back seat. The suspect said he bought the ammo in Utah so he and his girlfriend could go to the range for target practice. Philpott asked him, did he own the guns they planned to use? And he said he did not. He did not have firearms, but instead he had some cocaine. When the suspect said he had to use the bathroom, they escorted him in the bathroom. As they got back to the vehicle, he told the state trooper they could open the doors and trunk, but they couldn't go inside the vehicle. So a Carbon County Sheriff's Office deputy brought in a K9 drug dog. It alerted to the presence of drugs. The document says investigators searched more and found 36 boxes, each containing 500 rounds of high-caliber rifle ammunition. How much you want to make a bet? That high-caliber rifle ammunition that they quote is 7.62 by 51, and a misdemeanor amount of suspected cocaine. The troopers arrested him and put him in the back of the patrol car, and also they found large amounts of cash, more misdemeanor amounts of cocaine when they searched him. The tow truck took the vehicle to a secure storage facility, and other law enforcement personnel sealed the vehicle with the ammunition still inside. This is significant. If you take a step back and you look at what was happening in 1 week, you had an illegal alien buying ammunition. Can we just pause on this too? What is going on with these ammunition stores in Utah selling large quantities of ammo to illegal aliens, non-residents, non-citizens in Utah? What the hell is going on? Like, how is that acceptable? I go into Walmart and I buy more than a couple boxes and people are asking me questions. It's nobody's business. As an American citizen, I should be able to buy as much ammo as possible, but I know I'm popping up on the radar. You know who's not? Illegal aliens who are buying over 198,000 rounds within a week. I hope it's not the same place. If you know the actual store, if anybody has any information, please comment down below and let us know what that location is. I'd love to talk to them. I'd love to find out, and they're not going to answer the phone and talk.
Well, I'm glad he highlighted this. Well, it's probably all the stores in Utah, but most likely it's probably going to be one or two. And I wouldn't be surprised if they found out what stores were actually selling them, and they're now like looking to see who's buying this ammunition. And then they later on pass the information down to, a state trooper to pull them over, and they could continue to conduct this investigations, because to the government it'll be better to just be taking down whoever's buying them, right, than to focus on the gun shops or whoever's selling this ammunition, right? So it sounds to me like they could have known between that week before, and now they're like targeting, like probably investigating, and they just kind of like do surveillance, and they just have someone take them down in another state or whatever the case is, right? Just to keep that operations going, so they could be making arrests. But I get it too. The illegal aliens buying large amounts of ammunition should be something that they should look into, because when he says illegal aliens, I'm not, to me, I'm not just thinking Mexican. I'm thinking of any nationality, right? Which could be a national threat. But it should be looked a little bit more into, and I'm gonna guess that the only reason why they're going to Utah is because they're available, and these people, there's a business, buying and selling guns and ammunition. So
Talking to me, but I'd love to figure out, like, what's the deal here? How did that happen? Is that even legal? I know it's not. So how did that happen? So they go from Utah, they're driving through Rollins, and we already showed you where it leads into Pueblo. My buddy KJ hits me up this morning. He's like, hey, you know what's weird? You know El Chapo? You know the head of the Sinaloa cartel? You know where he's based at, or where he's imprisoned at for life plus 30 years? In Florence, Colorado. And I'm like, where's Florence? Huh. Wonder how close that is to Kansas City, where these guys got rolled up. Well, let's look at it. So we put up Supermax prison, because it is a Supermax prison, and you take a gander and you put in Kansas City, where these two illegals were rolled up. Whoa. It's 23 minutes away. 23 minutes away from a Supermax prison, and in close proximity to Pueblo, Colorado. As I put this out to my patrons, people are like, there's no way, man. It's a Supermax prison. Well, we do know what happened when they try to roll up in Mexico, El Chapo.
Okay, I have to stop this. Like, this is what I mean, right? We could have connected this to any other little damn town. Who knows? It's a conspiracy. And the fact that he's saying that his friend, this is the community that subscribes to his channel, that he interacts with all the time. This is the shit they want to hear. Now, I hope he says this is ridiculous and whatever the case is, but he doesn't. He's not, because he's gonna start saying, "Look what happened with Chapo's son when this happened," and the fact that he states this, the fact that he thinks that they would basically, come up with this plan, and they're gearing up to try to, go in guns blazing to save him. It's like, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But again, to me, but maybe to him, who's a conspiracy theorist, who has military background, and because he gets clicks for this, maybe it's not, but we'll see what he says.
Oh, son. They broke out the drones. They broke out the M2s. They broke out the Barrett 50 cal sniper rifles and unleashed hell saying, if you did not release El Chapo's son, we're going to burn the entire place to the ground. So would I put it past the cartel to plan a breakout of a supermax prison? No. The biggest issue here is you have two significant things that happen, and kudos to the law enforcement officers who rolled them up. But what happens when you're operating in a silo in your community and you roll up somebody who's transporting 18,000 in Rollins, Wyoming, or 180,000 in Kansas City, is you never figure out what the intent was. These guys are talking to third parties who are controlling them, giving them instructions, potentially even dead drops where they don't directly communicate. They get marching orders and are sent off on their own to do the bid. And the cartel is very smart when it comes to covert communications. I'm not saying that any one of these law enforcement situations in Wyoming or in Colorado should have just let them go. But what I'm saying is, one, they ain't giving up the information on their sources, their means, how they're doing what they do. They ain't giving up anything because they know if they do, their entire family's gone. The cartel will wipe out every strand of DNA that exists in their genealogy. So they ain't going to say nothing. So the best case, comprehensive, strategic scenario.
So, Mr. Glover, I beg to differ. I will tell you something that they will snitch on everyone. So he's again, he's saying that those local, law enforcement agencies won't know, but trust me, the federal government will know. And I'm sure that they're looking into this, and I'm sure that they'll get as much information as they can. So it's weird because he does know that part. But when he comes to everything, I feel like even when he's talking, he's not like, he doesn't close the thought. He doesn't, he leaves it open because that's what he knows his viewers are going to eat up. You know what I mean? It's sad.
Here is these organizations are talking to each other. They're trying to figure out, like, hey, where were these guys going? Hey, we tag or track and locate where these vehicles are going so we can find out their bed down. Hey, we get this guy's cell phone number, start tracking it and getting the signal intelligence of how these guys are collaborating. For sure, it is my opinion that both of these guys in the same week that got rolled up were involved in the same operation. Now, the question is, how many people got through? And then what was the final destination?
Well, he got something right. Yes, the same, same operation, meaning probably them two and a whole bunch of other people that see a way to get money and a way to make a profit. And it's probably happened for so long. So he got that right. I don't believe it's the same organization or, who knows, but the same operation, meaning once one person knows that you could make money off of that, next, it's like everyone goes to get it. It's just like getting the best weed back then in Humboldt County or getting the best weed right now, for the cheapest in Oklahoma, right? Everyone's gonna go do it. Everyone's gonna go get it. So he got that right.
Was it Pueblo? Was it a potential attack on a supermax prison to break out El Chapo? Was it preparation for an inside attack? This is why I love this type of media and you guys' feedback, because
that pisses me off. Exactly. Oh, for inside attack on who? He's basically saying that Mexicans are going to attack American people in American facilities, right? Because now this terrorist organization, they're going to work together. And because the United States is putting pressure on some idiot criminals in Mexico, now they're going to, stop their livelihoods in Mexico and just in the United States and go kill innocent Americans. Like this bullshit right here, this rhetoric that he's spitting, this shit drives me fucking insane, bro. Okay. And he says my community. And these are what people are saying. This is why it's great. Because he's selling this propaganda for his own well-being. He doesn't give a fuck about America. Because if he did, he would say, you know what, let me really think about what I'm about to say. This is not something the military taught him. This is self-knowledge. This is self-gain. This is his own self-motives. And this shit pisses me off.
Your investigative work is what brought this together. And for a fact, there's fidelity and a correlation between these two events. But what we're starting to see with this type of media is we could put these things together and make sense of it. This report of this Wyoming story is in the cowboystatedaily.com of a Wyoming news channel, which one of my patrons who's from Wyoming ended up sending it to me. If you have any more stories or any more information about these specific things, make sure you comment or join my Patreon. I have a free side of my Patreon, and you can comment on all my stuff, and I stay highly engaged. I'm also reducing the prices on my tier 2 and tier 3 memberships. Guys,
Oh, what a coincidence. Come to my Patreon. Let's keep talking about this shit. And in my Patreon, my private channel, I'll keep feeding you this bullshit so that you could, hear what you want to hear and tie these conspiracy theories together for my people. And let me guess, your people are going to be, middle, American, Caucasian, people that have no idea how everything else works, and you're going to be the perfect person to feed them the perfect information so that they could understand that Mexicans, so these terrorists are going to gear up with a plan to go and um and wait for retaliation on the U.S. government and its citizens because they're attacking Mexican drug cartels. So let's sign up for his Patreon, guys, and let's go hear this bullshit. And maybe you know what, maybe he served our country, and because he served our country, now he's fucking stupid. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that happened. So we also have to
Maybe you
pray for
join his
him.
Patreon and he convinces you to join his militia. My
Yeah, and
community.
then next thing you know, this is the shit like that turns criminal because next thing you know, he is the fucking one in charge of a militia with a group. Like this is ridiculous, bro. Because all his other videos you could go, they're not doing this. And he says that he's an active, participant, whatever. I reached out to him. I left him a couple of comments. I said, bro, I left him my website. He doesn't want someone to correct him. He's like basically El Primo. You get me? Now, and if I correct them, that'll probably be, people will probably be upset about it. But like, come on, bro. Like, this is not even about cartels. This is about what the name he puts on Mexican people and illegal immigrants. 100%. They're committing those who are committing crime. But the way he says is like, these sleeper cells who are gonna do retaliate against the United States. Like, come on, bro. You want some of that? You need to go back to Afghanistan.
And listen, miss me with the sleeper cell and the organized shit. When the guy that you're talking about with the 198,000 rhymes had bolsitas of perico everywhere and fucking probably open containers, that don't sound like no organized situation of sleeper celliage, all right? That don't sound like some elitist, militia came from Mexico. That sounds like a pendejo that had an opportunity to make some money y lo cagó el gallo.
Yo vivo tranquila con los
So,
perros.
you know what? I'm gonna make a point right now. Look, like I know this is your channel, Shy, and I know that it's the usuals here, and we have like a different type of community, right? But like, look, like I tell this all the time. Like I don't through experience, through what I live. I'm an expert because I know I'm an expert, and everyone out here knows. But as a consultant and some of the stuff I do, like this is the shit that drives me crazy. I wrote this article called "Does It Matter?" Okay, does it matter if who's a cartel, who's not, and how cartels operate, how they don't. And but I ask that question all the time because people might be like, "Oh, if you're a drug trafficker, it doesn't matter why you're sticking up from." But this is why. This is why I believe that people should stick to their field that that they know about. I'm not gonna be able to talk to him about military action in Afghanistan, Iraq, or whatever he did, special operation. I can't. I don't know shit about it, But people will cross over and you have all these fucking experts all over, and everything's Mexican drug cartel, everything. And to me, I think that that's dangerous because if it's the war against drugs, then then that means that law enforcement is looking for Mexicans and everybody else is just getting by. And then you hear stuff like this. It's like it's disturbing. Because now I'm making an argument to try to separate between criminals and law-abiding, citizens and
The regular
non-citizens.
people.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's disappointing. You get me? It's like, and he knows what he's doing. He's smart enough. I can tell just by the way he leaves those open-ended, statements. It's like he knows what he's doing. And I feel like this, as a soldier, as a veteran, like this is not serving your country by not providing the right information. Again, he keeps saying, "This is my guest." This is what my opinion, this is that. So just because he does that, it's like, what could you do, right? It's like, he got a cop out.
I hope the federal government is all over this. My fear here, and I'll talk about this in the underground episode on my Patreon. My fear here is, although there is good leadership now installed in cabinet members and directors, there is a problem. What we have is political hacks and activists who are members of these organizations who don't want to see the dots connected to be able to go after this because it hurts their political cause. which only endangers the American population. And when you also look at all of these organizations, they don't have the resources. Already, because of bad politics, these law enforcement agencies don't have the funding and resources they already need to do their basic jobs. You think they have the ability to cooperate and synergize in a task force to be able to go and track down something so big that's right in front of our faces? They might not even know these two cases exist because all the divisiveness that's been created in the system. So what we can do is continue to stay informed, continue to report on these things so you could be prepared. And I'll continue to inform you.
Well, let's all subscribe to his channel.
Global media say he's a highly decorated soldier with a lot of honorable service, but since he got out, it's all about his website, podcast, Patreon, and his consulting. And I believe it was Global Media that said his wife pressed. Oh, here it goes. It's Mike Glover, same one whose wife recently pressed charges on him. Charges for what? What did he do?
Of course, man. This is the problem with the gangs. This is the problem with everything. That once you leave the organization, you stop doing what you do. You look for something else that's more, like dedicate your time to. And this is his own thing, his podcast, and then you start selling yourself, for reals, I guess.
Shout out Los Defensores. This dude came on to Joe Rogan, but after that he fell off the map. Yeah, that's where I remembered him from. Does anybody in the chat disagree with Jay's representation or his analysis of what dude was talking about?
But obviously, you don't have to be an expert to agree with me either.
Definitely don't gotta be an expert.
I got an idea, Shai. Why don't you make a video and you be like sleeper cells all over
Oh
the United
shit.
States, and then you
Sleeper
might
cells
get
in sleeping bags in their sleeping quarters, and that'd be the title of the shit.
and you might get 600,000.
Man, maybe so I'd be like bullets and sleeping bags and Mexicans everywhere.
No,
And
I
then-
got a couple good headlines for you that I think.
Nah, I just did it right there. Bullets and sleeping bags and Mexicans, and then boom, I get a million subs. The border, a prison, and a Mexican, and get a million views and shit.